Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk. Today on the docket, the SEAL, Chief Petty Officer Eddie Gallagher, found not guilty. Miss Lueck, the University of Utah college student who went missing, turns out she was a working girl, and DNA evidence comes through again. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch from Crime Talk, the most unbiased and fact-driven channel on YouTube. We hope that you like the channel, so please subscribe. If you would like to get notifications of when we put out new content or if we go live, hit that little bell so you receive those notifications, and always leave a comment about the video or about a case you would like us to talk about. Today on the docket, Chief Eddie Gallagher, the Navy SEAL who was charged with war crime violations for allegedly killing an ISIS combatant, has been found not guilty of all charges, which included obstruction of justice, except for one count and specification of posing with a corpse. Obviously, the evidence was right there. The jury found him guilty of that. In the military system, the jury can decide the punishment, and Chief Eddie Gallagher is probably going to come out okay. He could still receive a bad conduct discharge. He could still receive a dishonorable discharge. But my prediction is that he receives some confinement time. He probably won't receive some reduction in rank, but I don't think that these 5 officers and 2 senior enlisted men are going to allow a SEAL, for lack of a better term, war hero who has gone out there, had 8 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and who knows where else over the course of some 20-year career, to lose his retirement. I don't see that happening, but we shall see. I think the jury is going to be very favorable to him. We'll find out, and then we'll talk about it. Next on the docket is the case of Mackenzie Lueck. For those who are not familiar with that, Miss Lueck was the University of Utah college student who was returning home from her grandmother's funeral in California, where she resides with her family, except when she's going to school. She arrived late, and she is dropped off, or last seen being dropped off, at a park in Salt Lake at some weird hour of 3 a.m. She then goes missing for a period of time. Through investigation, the police determined that Miss Lueck was last with a man by the name of Ayula Ajaya. Mr. Ajaya apparently denied having any contact with Miss Lueck, didn't know who she was, even though apparently he had some screenshots of her on his phone. Make a long story short, Mr. Ajaya has been arrested, charged with aggravated kidnapping and aggravated murder and desecration of a corpse, and is being held without bond currently in Salt Lake. The police discovered Miss Lueck's charred remains in his backyard, where he apparently had tried to burn Miss Lueck. It was apparently to dispose of her body. Now, this Mr. Ajaya is apparently a relatively smart guy. I guess he works in the IT field. He had listed that he'd worked for Dell as well as Goldman Sachs at some point in his career. He apparently has a wife or mother of his children who lives in Dallas, and she describes him as a not nice guy and that he has a temper. We also know that Mr. Ajaya had attempted to hire a contractor to build a soundproof room in his basement, and he wanted to be able to have hooks and or shackles on the wall. What we didn't discuss yesterday, and what we were trying to wait to confirm, we didn't want to rush to judgment, was there's rumors or reports that Miss Lueck was a sugar baby. And basically what that is young girls meet older men, and these older men, aka sugar daddies, would provide financial compensation, i.e. usually buying them nice things, paying them cash, or apartments. It doesn't necessarily mean that there was any anything intimate involved, but we're all adults here, and one could reasonably conclude that that's what may have been taking place. No one is going to judge Miss Lueck, but it does remind me of a video that I put out, and we'll put a little link or tag or something to it that is titled "The 12 Undeniable Truths from a Criminal Defense Attorney." And one of those undeniable truths is that basically everybody has a second life. Everybody has a secret. I think you'll enjoy it. Watch the video. It may also come out that these sugar daddies may have been meeting Miss Lueck on other websites where perhaps financial compensation was exchanged. Now, how does that affect the murder trial? No way at all, other than it explains why Miss Lueck would be meeting Mr. Ajaya at a park at 3 a.m. Let's face it, not normal, not the normal meeting place of people. As we talked about yesterday, nothing good happens between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. Even if Miss Lueck was a, quote, sugar baby, it has no effect on the trial. It'll simply show why the two were together. It in no way suggests or should suggest that she somehow deserved to be murdered because of that occupation. There could be nothing further from the truth. In fact, the court would probably limit any evidence other than explaining why they were there. Certainly, it's not a defense to any type of crime of homicide. And to suggest or try to impugn her lifestyle would not be allowed by the court. Mr. Ajaya is expected in court next week, and we will see what additional charges are formally filed. The next matter on the docket is a case out of Washington State. Why this is significant is a man by the name of William Talbot II was identified as a suspect in a 1987 cold case murder. Now, why this is so interesting is, and there's been some talk about this more in the criminal defense world and some publications that I follow, is that these DNA sites where they try to identify your heritage or family trees and things of that nature, you send in your buccal swab, you send it in, and they give you analysis of your lineage. Well, those databases that are owned by private companies, the government is asking these private companies if they can go through with their CODIS system, which is the system that identifies DNA results in criminal cases where people have been arrested, prosecuted, and convicted and needed to have their DNA collected, as it may vary from state to state. That's normally how people are identified through the criminal justice process. If there is DNA, they upload it into the CODIS system. Well, now the government is asking to basically borrow or compare through these private databases DNA information. And in this particular case, the results did not come back with a direct hit directly to Mr. Talbot, but they were able to identify basically two cousins of Mr. Talbot. From there, they created a family tree, and then they tried to see who in that family tree was in the particular area at the time of the murder. Then the police officers who think they have Mr. Talbot, they don't have enough information to arrest Mr. Talbot at this particular point because the DNA is not a complete match. So the police basically watch him, they surveil him, they remove from his trash a coffee cup, and they collect DNA from that coffee cup, take that sample, then compare that sample to the DNA that they found at the crime scene. There's a match. He's charged. He's prosecuted for a case some 30 years old. This is the first case where a private database sample led to someone's conviction, at least in a homicide case. It is not going to be the last. It is just something that is going to continue to be more and more prevalent. So, not that I'm saying if you did something wrong, but just remember, when you send that off to a private company, your DNA is out there for the world to be compared to. Now, normally, do most people need to worry about their DNA? No. But let's say, for example, if there was a crime committed here in the glorious Crime Talk studios, and they were to take DNA swabs from this chair that I'm rubbing at the handle, they would have my DNA, but let's say there's somebody else's DNA on it. Let's say it was the guy that moved this chair into the studio. He could be a possible suspect in that crime. So although the DNA is there, it doesn't necessarily mean that he committed the crime. Now, the beautiful thing about forensic evidence, particularly DNA evidence, is that it's there, okay? And unlike witnesses, it can't perjure itself. Its memory doesn't fade. It can't disappear. The beauty of it is that it's there. And if it's done truly through proven scientific methods, it can be repeated, tested, and get the same result. DNA has been a powerful, powerful thing for the last 25 years. We used to have lengthy hearings of whether it's reliable and it comes in, and now it is generally accepted, and you don't get what they call Shrek hearings anymore regarding these type of DNA issues. Now the DNA is generally accepted, and the issue comes down to how did it get there? Is the defendant have a reason for it to get there? Explaining it. And then you have to look at the statistical analysis to see, based upon the size of the sample that it's being tested from, as to the statistical analysis. Interesting case, in my humble opinion. It's going to be even greater use as things go on, as police use this as a treasure trove of basically searching for evidence, particularly in cold cases. That's all that we have on the docket today. Please subscribe, please like, hit that little notification bell. This has been Crime Talk, the most unbiased, fact-driven channel on YouTube, which by default would probably make me the most trusted man on YouTube. Have a great day.